Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Brandon Berg joining us here this morning. How are you? Fine, sir.
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Been a couple weeks since we got to catch up with you because you were at State Track and Field last week and such, so you are a very, very busy man. Let's do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flowing Center. Track and field, it's always one of your favorite things to go to, isn't it? State Track and Field and lacrosse?
It is. It's two very, very busy days as long as Mother Nature doesn't stretch it any longer than that. It's one of those things where you just kind of go into it and you know it's going to be, you're going to be very, very busy, but at the same time you're also, it's always worth it. So
right, and it sounds like a lot of our local athletes had some good results and maybe even some records breaking over there too.
I think for the weekend the number was like 32.
Wow,
state meet records were broken, and there's a good chunk of them from athletes around here. So
definitely, so nice, and congrats again to all those local athletes. And I know softball, you had a really good piece. I was talking about it yesterday. It's Chippewa Herald. Clover Belt well represented at state for state softball. 3 teams from the Clover Belt there. One of them, your alma mater, Thorpe, did fall yesterday. McDonald Central fell to Pacelli, which, Pacelli, if you know your softball, they're kind of a program when it comes to softball. Right?
We can start, I guess, with Thorpe. First of all, just kind of seemed like it was just kind of a bad day to have a bad day.
Yeah.
A couple errors here, a couple, mistakes there, that kind of thing. And just, that's one of those things you can't really do when you're at state. Like, not a lot of teams win games at state, playing less than like their, B or their A game. And it's just, it's just a tough day against a good foe. That in Alma Bancroft, they were runner up to Stevens Point Pacelli in their they're both from the same conference. So, that was a very strong battle-tested team that could hit the ball. And, that it just kind of, unfortunately how that goes sometimes when you're down at state. You just kind of have a bad day and somebody else doesn't, and it just kind of gets away from you. But obviously still a great season for Thorpe. Being able to get back third time in 4 years.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of navigate the waters as, the favorite as far as, in this Division 5 sectional. that's not easy to do.
Right.
And then you look at McDonald and, you mentioned Pacelli. They won the last 2 Division 5 state championships, move up to D4 this year because of WI's competitive balance rule. Still very, very good there. They were their pitching is outstanding. Even a couple years ago when McDonald played Pacelli in the state semis, it was a lot of the same players. So you can kind of tell, like, oh, this team's a bunch of sophomores. Like, this team's probably going to be pretty good. And it turns out they were. Obviously, they won state that last year. That year they won it last year, and they got a shot tomorrow. But.
Right.
For McDonald, kind of an interesting year because it was kind of a bit of an up and down year. A younger team. A lot of their up the middle players are all sophomores, so that team's not going anywhere.
Right.
But they get no hit. That happens a fair amount at state, as we've seen. I think it was the 13th time in state history that's happened at the state tournament. But really for them, they pitched well. Kelsey Brenda's pitched well in the circle. Defensively, they played well. Just kind of one inning. All 3 runs were scored in 1 inning, and that was the only inning any runs were scored. So, now Pacelli will play tomorrow, looking for a unique three-peat of doing it in a couple different divisions. A little later on this morning, we got Fall Creek in action. They're the 1 seed in Division 3. They'll take on Valders. So, looking for
that's another program that's had success lately too. Is Fall Creek, right?
Yeah, and that's the last few years. They've really become not just the the class of the Western Clover Belt, just one of the top teams, regardless of division in this part of the state. So, they're going to turn their attention to trying to, get a win here and then a chance to play for a title in another division like Pacelli tomorrow.
Exactly. So that softball will wrap up this weekend. We got also, is it individuals tennis?
Team state tennis.
Or team state
individuals last weekend. So team gets underway this afternoon, actually. Menomineen's in action.
Okay.
They're the 8th seed. They play Brookfield Central. They made it by virtue of winning sectionals a few weeks ago in Eau Claire. They had some individuals, as a lot others did last week down there. But for tennis, it's always individuals first for the the first week of state, and then the next week is team. So
okay.
But they'll go. You've also got Altoona's the 3 seed. They're in action tomorrow morning. they're a 3 seed in Division 2. They will take on Kohler.
Okay.
So, and both of those, and if you win, basically your semifinals and your finals are tomorrow. Your quarterfinals you have in Division 1 are going on today. So,
gotcha.
We're kind of wrapping that up, and it's at Nielsen Stadium, which is right near Goodman Diamond. So,
nice.
I'm sure some of our media friends that are, maybe down there today for Fall Creek or whoever else, they might just kind of bounce back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. That makes it easy. Thank you to for scheduling that.
Sometimes the planning works out.
Yeah. So we know the baseball teams, too, that are going to state and just kind of in our immediate area. I know Hudson's a 1 seed in Division 1. Barron is also going to be at state. They're the 4 seed in Division 3. So, some outlier. We got like Fenimore is also in Division 3 as a 2 seed and such. But, obviously probably a little bit more familiar with Barron and Hudson.
Right. Hudson want to share the Big Rivers during the regular season. Very stacked team. I mean, the number 1 ranked team in the last state coaches poll of the season, and they've been good in the postseason. Had some work for them when they beat Stevens Point in the regional final, but then came back. Beat Chippewa Falls 13-3, beat Eau Claire North Big 2 to win that sectional championship. You mentioned they're the 1 seed. They're going down there. I mean, that is a deep, explosive team. I mean, it's got a lineup 1 through 9 that can put the ball in play. They got some good pitchers there. I mean, that's going to be a good Hudson. That Hudson's got a good chance to really make some noise. They got Badger, who is the 8th seed, and that's the first games. State baseball gets underway Monday. Goes Monday through Thursday. So you mentioned Barron in Division 3. A good year for Barron just in general, I think, athletically. You go back to the fall. Volleyball won the Division 4 state championship. Their football team had a really good season in the fall. Last fall, kind of one of the best they've had here in recent memory. Now you fast forward here to the spring, and you got baseball going down there, and they're the 4 seed. They'll take on Kenosha St. Joe's. That'll be Tuesday in the in the semis. You mentioned Fenimore. They had won the. Fenimore's not really a team from around here, but they're in that section with teams from around here. So but
a little bit south of our listener, but they're right on the edge.
We might have some. Hey, through the glories of streaming online, you could be listening in Fenimore right now.
We got Tom from across the pond that listens to us.
There we go.
Shout out my Uncle Kenny in Virginia that listens to us.
There we go. So
we're worldwide, man.
We are.
We're like Pitbull.
Now, you can't call yourself Mr. Worldwide, technically.
No.
But
I could say we are worldwide.
There we go.
Yeah,
so baseball is wrapping up. We got soccer we're going to know after tomorrow. In Division 1, we got Eau Claire Memorial. They're
taking on Kimberly, right?
They are, yeah. Yep. They're still alive after picking up the big 2-0 win, yesterday over Hudson in the in seemingly the annual postseason battle between those two teams. So yeah, they're still around. I know in Division 4, Washburn picked up the shutout win over Regis McDonald. So the Castle Guards, which is one of my favorite mascots, but they'll be going for a D4 trip to state on Saturday. River Falls, number 1 seed in Division 2, they're alive. They'll play on Alaska, who I believe that's who they played last year.
Okay.
To go to state. So that's a rematch when River Falls went to state. So you got a couple Big Rivers teams still in action. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it for soccer around here. So
nice. So yeah, starting to wrap up this prep season.
We're getting down to it. Last week is kind of the last week because you've got states. Usually, state soccer is the last thing that's going on. So we'll be getting into summer. Obviously, you mentioned the Express. They are well underway. We'll have some
probably getting ready to close out the first half of that season already.
Right? Yeah, they're getting going. We'll have some
so.
Legion baseball getting going here.
Yep.
With some of these teams now that their spring seasons are done, and I mean look, remember this year when we get to August, like the prep season doesn't start later. Like last year it did. That's just how the schedule fell. But this year I think it's like the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, one of those days. That's when football starts.
Jeez. And
this year, so it's less than 2 months away. And remember, this year 8-player starts the same time as 11-player.
Oh,
that was one of the things that kind of with their off-season things that they discussed. They moved that up to the start. So those you don't get that first week where it's just 11-player. So
was there like a rhyme or reason, or just kind of just making it like easier, like everybody just starts at the same time?
Well, I think a big part of it was they bumped up the size of the playoffs in 8-player.
Okay.
So you just need to and you didn't want to have 8-player playoffs the same week as 11.
Okay.
So I think it was just a matter of and the 8-player playoffs are only regular season for 8-man is only 8 weeks.
Okay.
So actually, I believe the way the schedule works out, week 9 will be like the last week of the regular season for 11-player, but then also 8-player first round of their playoffs.
Gotcha.
So because it was 16 teams in the past, I believe they bumped up to 32. Just you're getting more teams for it, and also you could handle to do it because there were some good teams last year that missed the playoffs. I think of like a Gilman who was like 6-2 with losses to the eventual state champion who they almost beat, and McDonald who was a very good team too. So there was You can make some arguments on the 11-player side that about the size of the postseason just with everything, but like right now with 8-player, you have your ecosystem is good enough to host having more teams. Let's put it that way.
That's a good way to put it. So, as Brandon mentioned, the Express season, they're back at Carson Park tonight, and they'll be back at Carson Park Saturday and Sunday.
Ooh.
And this is going to be your chance here because after that, they're going to be on one of their longest road trips. In fact, I think it's the longest road trip of the season. I know they got a long one in July here, too, so definitely the longest one in June. So if you want to get out to the ballpark this weekend, Rochester tonight, Thunder Bay Saturday and Sunday. So,
How long are they gone?
Well, after Sunday's game, they won't be back until the 23rd.
Ooh,
so
that's a good solid week plus.
Yeah, and then Sunday is also our sister station I-94's day, Superheroes Day too. But also since it's Father's Day, cool thing they're doing for Sunday. You want to come out before the game, have a little catch with Dad on the field. So that's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. So, and then I know Saturday night as well after the game is the Chris Cruzy post-game concert.
Big weekend then.
It is. A lot going on.
Cooperate, Mother Nature.
Exactly.